Hello, guys, gals, non binary pals. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of GSC's Girl Pod. I am your host, Candy, joined by my wonderful and sometimes dangerous co host, V. How you doing, V?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. And if you are watching this on YouTube, then you see that we have a special guest with us today. Today we have Courtney. Courtney, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Courtney, pronouns are she, her, and I am the co-director of GAMERella.
Welcome to the podcast. So, for those of you who are turning in for the first time, second time, just make sure it's not the last time. This is Girl Pod, what started out as a small joke when V had to miss a news podcast and the boys were all like, boys podcast, boys podcast. We decided to make the girls podcast. So each episode we're going to talk about gaming from our perspectives. But before we start, we will give the other podcasts a little shout out. So make sure you're following the channel. Click that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Click the follow button if you're somewhere else. So you can catch the weekly news podcast every Thursday. V is on there to balance out the scales. And then there is the party chat on Fridays. If that's not enough, which it might not be because we all need more fill of gaming, then make sure that you check out gamersocialclub.ca. That's the website we write for. You're going to find editorials, guides, news, reviews written for gamers, by gamers. We are not professionals. We are just gamers who need to talk about it more, sometimes on podcasts, sometimes in written format. So make sure you check us out over there. I know I just posted a review for a game. There's a few other previews for games that are coming out. This is a busy month for games, so make sure that you were checking out everything. V is like, yes, it is. It's very busy. I have a lot of reviews to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so busy. Why? Why September? Why have you done this to me?
And just think, it could have been busier if Silk Song didn't come out and delay like a large
Yeah,
percentage
actually,
of games.
thank you, Team Cherry, actually, for that. I would like to thank Team Cherry personally for meaning that I don't have to edit quite as many reviews one after the other because lots of people delayed their games.
They're really looking out for you.
Yeah, they are. They are. Even though I did say some mean things on the lead up to Silksong, which I would now like to retract and apologize for. Like, it's not a delusion. I know it exists. Like,
It's real. It's here. It's real. If you're playing it, hopefully you are enjoying it. But as we always start this podcast, Courtney, with a little beverage and what we're drinking. So would you like to talk about what you were drinking today?
I am sticking to the tried and true stereotype of being British, and I have a cup of tea with a very little hedgehog on it. So that's my drink of choice for today. It's probably my third cup at this point in the day. So yeah.
I mean, it's
I like your
afternoon.
hedgehog.
Yeah.
Okay,
Third cup
afternoon tea.
afternoon. That
Yeah,
sound. If anything, it sounds like you haven't had enough tea.
Yeah, to be fair, like I woke up later, so maybe I'm like concentrating it into like how many hours I've been awake. But like, I mean, like I've had record days of like 8 to 10 cups, and that's mostly when I'm in Ireland and the kettle never gets cold. But when I'm here, I'm like, if I'm sitting, just go have a cup of tea.
That's fair. We'll
nice.
keep it in the UK. V, what do you have today?
I have a lovely little Welsh beverage called Club Tropica. So it's made by a brewery in Wales called Tiny Rebel. This is my favourite beer of all time. So I know we always say this. Be like, if anyone wants to sponsor us. But Tiny Rebel, if you want to sponsor us, like this is my favourite beer of all time. It's an IPA, but it's a tropical IPA. It's probably not sweet enough for you, Candy, but it does have some nice tropical notes to it, some guava, a little bit of like sort of pineapple-y on the nose.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just a cracking little beverage. And I'm very excited that I can buy it from the shop, to be honest.
No, super fair. I am keeping it casual. You can't see it because I put it in a Broadway cup. But I'm drinking just Malibu and Diet Coke today. But to stick with the theme sort of, and again, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. It does say bottoms up. It's from Death Becomes Her, which is a fantastic musical, also a really great movie. If you want to watch the original from the 90s, early 90s. Um, Lots of fun, very cheeky and silly. Again, whether you see the movie or the show. And I pro tip, if you ever spend too much money on Broadway and you get a drink because the drinks are like $25 a pop, keep the cup. The cup will last. It's nice. It's plastic. and it's a souvenir that you probably paid too much money, like I did. So enjoy it.
Get your money for it.
Absolutely, that's your pro tip. That's your pro tip today. If you spend the money on it, save the cup, bring it home, enjoy it, because you never know when you're going to need a nice cup for a podcast and you want to show it off. And then if you save money on the cups, you don't have to buy lots of cups for your kitchen. Most of our cups are just Broadway eclectic cups. But then that means I can save more money to spend on games. So it's a win-win.
That's girl math
Yeah.
for you.
That's yeah.
Bring back girl math. Bring it back. And the other thing we're going to bring back is fantasy guest. So, for those of you who have listened before, we always talk about a fantasy guest that we would love to have on the podcast. And when we do have a guest on the podcast, we ask them to think about their fantasy guest, a guest that they would like to have, whether it be joining them when they return to the podcast, or if they had their own podcast, or in some other work that they do. It also takes the onus off of me and V having to think of fantasy guest every week, which is great. So, Courtney, do you have a fantasy guest this week?
You know, I thought about this because I know there's also sort of who would be your dream collaboration as well with for like the jam that we run at GAMERella. But I thought, as you were mentioning there, like if I had my own podcast, one of the people I'd love to speak with is Rhianna Pratchett, who wrote the first. I think was involved at least in all of the reboots of Tomb Raider, because that is that is what got me into video games. Tomb Raider 3, mostly running around Croft Manor because, you know, piranhas are terrifying when you're in the appropriate age that I would have been playing it, I promise, here. So I think for me, I'd love to sit and chat with her about how she like took that IP and made it her own, or what she wanted to do with it. Because I love Tomb Raider as a franchise, and I have so many questions and thoughts and theories about how she did it, and opinions on the story itself, both good and bad. But that's always the case with these kinds of things. Can never be perfect. But for GAMERella, I think it would be really cool. We love spotlighting and connecting with like Canadian games studios. Like that's one of our like big things we like to do. And I was obsessed with a game called Hard Space Shipbreaker. I don't know.
Yeah, I've played that. Yeah.
Let me tell you, if you want a cozy game, that game is so freaking cozy, even though you're just breaking apart a ship. And so I'd love to connect with Blackbird Interactive, I think is the studio. I'd love to talk with them and have them maybe collaborate with us in the future, because they made a really cool game.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that if you look at it, it doesn't seem like it would be necessarily a cozy game.
Yeah.
Because you are in space with like a welding tool, and you're like just breaking stuff down. But you can, because I have, do things seriously wrong and maybe make many explosions happen. So you know you can be an agent of chaos, absolutely, whilst you're trying to do your job very well. But yeah, it's just really methodical, and there's a lot to just keep you going. Just like it's a fun game.
Yeah, it's good, and it's so like piece by piece, and like it's like breaking apart like a Lego, but it could explode is part of it, which is part of the fun as well, or jettisoning yourself off into like the incinerators and things, which I also have done multiple times. Yay for achievements being unlocked, at least with that. But no, it's so good. It's such a good game.
Okay, I haven't played that one, so I'm gonna have to look out for that one.
Strong recommend.
And you say it's cozy, but it sounds like it's a little potentially cozy chaotic, not just cozy.
Yeah. I mean, like the whole premise is that it's essentially like indentured labor, that you are like constantly having to pay off a debt to there's a lot of political commentary in there, and I do like politics in my games. So there's a lot of that in there, but it's just if you can do it and you perfect the run of like breaking apart the ship, it feels awesome. But there's also times where you're like, something's flashing red and you're just like, it's gonna go into the fire, and like that's how I'm gonna deal with it. I'm a professional, I swear. So that's a big part of it too.
No, I like that. I like where it's like, I don't want to say straightforward, obviously not having played it, but enough where it's like I know what my objective is, but how I achieve that objective might be not the smoothest, not the cleanest. I might just throw that thing in the trash and be like, well, it's gone now.
It's gone. Not my problem now. I'll see it in the tally sheet at the end.
Yeah. I I like that. Sometimes I feel like sometimes you need things that are just let me just do the thing. And I usually am someone who wants a lot of story, but sometimes I'm like my
Mm,
brain can't handle story, but I want to do something that feels like I'm progressing towards something, and whether it's breaking
yeah,
something apart or putting something together, or just puzzles, because sometimes there's games that are just puzzles, like that is
yeah.
satisfying.
There is, to be fair to it, there is a story that runs through it
Okay.
as you're breaking
Okay.
it down. Like you've got a team of fellow shipbreakers over comms, and like I won't spoil anything. I think it's just a really, really good story attached to what you would never have expected from just a game about breaking down ships. And it's not just a game about breaking down ships, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it does have a good narrative in there as well, which I enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah, I just finished playing a game that was a lot of narrative, which is
Mm,
why I'm thinking like it's nice to then sometimes have something where like that's not the focal point, right? Because I just played one that's very heavily a visual novel, lots of story,
ah,
right? Lots
yes,
of, and then to offset that, that's when it's like, okay, so now I need something that's not
just reading.
20-ish hours of reading.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. You
Yeah.
can't jump from like Baldur's Gate 3 straight into another massive RPG. You need a little break point to go
Mm-hmm.
look and try another genre for a bit and then come back to it.
Yeah, a little palette cleanser.
Exactly.
I feel like a great time to create palette cleansers is during 48-hour game jams.
Very true. Excellent segue.
I'll
I
let you
can't
try to
believe
find
how
some
do
of those.
segues.
Yeah.
I can't do segues. Like,
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, tell us a little bit. You mentioned GAMERella, and obviously, if people are listening, they may not know what that is. So, give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so it started back in 2013. Charlotte Fisher and Gina Hara basically were feeling like traditional game jams, which are held over weekends, weren't super welcoming to women and non-gender conforming folks, and so they decided to establish their own thing, called it GAMERella, and it's been running ever since. One jam a year, usually around November, and this year is our 13th edition. Spooky. Not in October though; it will be in November this year. And it really was about trying to make a space for people who were not traditionally welcomed into, or didn't really feel comfortable in
Mm-hmm.
traditional game jam spaces. We've obviously, as the industry is trying to grow and mature a bit, these sort of crunch culture, sleeping under your desk, eating pizza, being a gremlin, kind of glorified around those spaces. And a lot of studios are trying to move away from that. There's some
Mm-hmm.
studios who still do, and that is part of it's the passion industry thing. But this was a big thing for GameRella is like yes, it's 48 hours, but we make you go home on the first day. So we close the doors at like 10, I think. We're like, go home. We can't control what you do there. You can continue making your assets and things like that, but
Yeah,
you're not going to
yeah.
be here doing that. And then doors open again the next morning at 8 or 9. Most of the time people arrive around 10, 11 because they've actually had a night's sleep, which we're like, yes, this is why we do this. And so, yeah, and it's a really cool space to make first games. That's really what our big priority is for people who are first time game makers. So people who have never picked up engine, are not familiar with, like, maybe they work on the art and they've not put an asset into a game itself, but they've like made a bunch of art, everything in between really. And so it's a space for them to feel comfortable to like fail as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay if it doesn't quite go the way you want it to. One of our big things we say to folks is like, if you leave this and you've made something that runs for all of 10 seconds before it crashes, that is more than you had when you first walked in here for the weekend, right? So it's trying to take the stress off as well, like having fun making it, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, like especially creatives, like you want to see it be the perfect version of what you have in your head, or it's not translating properly and it's like it's garbage, I hate it. And it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
this is your foundation for doing something more. This is you building your skills. This is you learning with your peers. Like a lot of people in that space are
Yeah.
also first time game makers. And we have wonderful mentors from all across Montreal's game studios and some online folks who are there to sort of help guide them through, help them when their skybox disappears, sit with them and go, I don't know why it's doing this, and now this is interesting to me, and they
Mm-hmm.
get stuck in the weeds of it with them. And I think that's what's really nice about having a game jam as a space for beginners is that it's also like you have to do it. Like you can't procrastinate like you're in it now for the next 2 days.
Right.
Um, and it does create some really cool and unique and interesting mini games, jam games that then either get developed on maybe a little bit further, or it sparks an idea for something, whether they're a student, a game dev student, that they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I want to take this and do something more with it. whether they're a junior dev and they're trying to make their own game for the first time, it's like a great thinking space. So yeah, that's something that's really cool about it.
Yeah,
Is there any games that have been sort of developed as part of
Ooh.
it, little mini games that have then been taken that we would be familiar with, or?
I don't know there's anything that's hit like the market, as it were. I
Mhm.
know that we were super fortunate that Dr. Kashona Gray actually offered some funding to, I can't remember which edition it was now, oh gosh, but there was a game called Masks that
Mhm.
came out, or that they had done. It was Nedward and Maya Harry, and it was about being autistic in different spaces and having to mask in those different
Mhm.
spaces. And so they did get time and some money to go and develop it that little bit further. So it's now a much more fully fleshed out game that I believe lives on their itch.io.
Yeah.
And so that's something that like went that little step further. I'd like to think at least some of the ideas or assets have gone off into like different tangents, and it's part of like the genealogy of their creation. But to our knowledge, there's no one who's been like, I made this game at the GAMERella Game Jam and now it's on Steam. Like, I don't know that yet. I do think we're getting there though. A lot of the junior devs who are coming into the space are so savvy already, and even if they haven't made their first game, like it's going to be on their portfolio at some point, which is always really cool. But nothing that's like super like visible, I think, right now.
Yeah, yeah. But you're helping make those little hidden gems, the ones that you find
Exactly.
just in the depths of Steam someday, and you're just like, that looks
Truly.
interesting, and then you
Yeah.
download it, and you're like, damn, this is one of the best games I've ever played. It's like, why does no one know about this? Like,
I know,
yeah.
I know. And it's the same with a lot of itch.io games. I know itch.io just had the whole pass with the MasterCard, PayPal, like removing weird tags, problematic tags in their eyes.
Yeah.
But it is like a depth of freaking so cool games. There's so many interesting things on there, and like that's also where a lot of folks will host like on our jam page. Obviously, they post them on the itch.io there, which I highly recommend any of the listeners to go and have a play through some of them because they're very cool. But this is the thing, like there's even like a game that's like super short and sweet, like can do some really cool stuff or make you think about really interesting things. And I found that with a couple of the games where I've been like, oh, this is just like, it's like so melancholy or it's so wholesome or it's so thoughtful or so inspiring. And I and it's when you sit and you're like, you made this in 2 days. Yay, you know?
Yeah, and I mean that's all part of like the design process as a whole, right? Like the design process never actually stops. And I think that's something that people who maybe are doing it for the first time or just have a little bit of interest but haven't actually taken that step, like they don't know that, or if you've never studied design or looked into it, right? Like the design process is always going because it
Yeah,
is never perfect, it is never done. So if you do something over 48 hours and you have a concept, right? The next time you revisit that, you
yeah,
then make it more than just a concept, right? And then it's the first level of a game. It's
yeah,
now, and little by little that can continue to grow. And I mean, the fact that one of the games that has come out of the jam already has had that additional funding, I think is also a testament to what you all are putting together and doing, because let's
yeah.
not forget there was also a whole pandemic in there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like and to speak to the pandemic side of it, we found like it was a lot because doing I think the online edition we did a global one. So we opened it up to just anyone, anywhere, every time, and we got mentors for every time zone and everything like that. The I post that weekend, I like had that sort of like when you've played a video game so long that like you can kind of see the UI burned onto your retinas a little bit or the
Yeah.
sounds. Discord and I had to take a break for like 2 days afterwards because I was like dreaming in like do 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 like that kind of like all the I was like I was like, oh my goodness. But it was an awesome weekend and there's some really cool stuff that came out of it. Huge scene in Brazil of folks that actually joined us, which was
Yeah.
epic. Um, and that was thanks to Natalia, who joined us as a co-organizer at the time. But it was, I think it helped people connect. And there was also like, I think we were sort of early enough in, well, I don't know if we're early enough, like the Discord Zoom fatigue hadn't quite become a thing to that degree.
Yeah.
which we see more now. Like there's a big split in between people who are like, actually having it hybrid is incredibly convenient for me, and other people who are like, I want to look into people's eyes. I miss that, you
Yeah.
know, and even 5 years out from it. And so I think being able to have that space during the pandemic for people to still like meet and create and do things, and like even when the weekend ended, like we still saw people talking and doing things together, and that was really nice to see on our end, because like we really want to build that community up of game makers, and certainly early ones as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was surreal, like doing the first in-person game jam post-pandemic, because it was also like my first in-person game jam, because I'd only done online ones or helped co-organize online ones, and it was just like such a different space, because online it's like, as your organizers, we're kind of just like seeing all these faces and people pop up into the channels, but like we'll pop in every once in a while and be like, how's it going, how are we feeling? And they're like, yeah, we're good, we're just making, can you go away? And we're like, yeah. So can read the room, and it's fine, because it's great to see them in the zone. Whereas like, and then the same in the physical spaces, it's like we kind of wander around, but you can see a little bit more like how teams are doing. You can tell if there's like
Yeah.
palpable stress at one of the teams because something's not working. You kind of shimmy over and you're like, do you need a mentor to help you? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, we got you. So
Yeah.
it's funny. There's a different dichotomy. One of the other things as well, like one of the big things about GAMERella is like the whole like removing the obstacle of like feeling welcome in these spaces was a big deal. But there's so many more obstacles for like being a first time game maker, especially if you're in an equity seeking group, which is things like money and childcare and food. And so we provide all of that as well. And it's hard to do that and do this feminist framework online. Like it's not, you can't send everyone a Timmy's gift card, because at the time like no one could go to Timmy's anyway. Tim Hortons, for those who don't know what Timmy's is. Truly assimilated myself now. I just realized it came to me naturally. But like we can't do that. We can't send people like gift cards for pizzas and stuff, because like one of the main things we do is like we always do like here is the junk food day and here is the like nourishing actual nutrients day, because I think is a good thing to be a proponent for. But that's, you can't do that same support online as you can in person. And like if we have like folks who are single parents, it's like we will get you a childcare voucher. If folks need accessible spaces, or we have a lot of neurodivergent folks who come to our jams, and so we're mindful about like overhead lighting and we have a low sensory room and things like that, so the folks can like decompress, because there's a lot of people in the room, a lot of people are talking, a lot of keyboards going, and it can be a lot. Even for us as organizers, we're like, I'm gonna go sit in the staff room for 10 minutes, I don't want to hear my name, bye, and then we come back out. But we need that minute, right? Because it's on, go. So yeah, like there's a lot of different things that have come from, one of the big things that we learned from the pandemic was like the mechanisms of support are so different, and we haven't identified them as clearly yet still for the online folks as we do for the hybrid for the people in the real space.
I mean, I think
So,
it's
yeah.
also always difficult to anticipate like the needs, and I think it sounds like you're doing an amazing job, because like someone with autism is not going to present in the same way as the other person that has that, right? So their triggers, the things that they're going to
Yeah.
need sensory wise, like all of that, to take all of that into consideration is a lot. And there are also people, I think, especially when you're talking about first time game devs, who maybe they don't even know that they're sensitive to this sort of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're in a room with all these voices and all the keyboards and all of the stress, right? Because while I think it's fun to work on a project in a short amount of time, it can also be stressful, right? And that's just
so stressful. Oh my gosh, yes.
That's just real. And if you are someone who maybe you're like, oh, I'm a little sensitive to these things, but I'm fine, and then you find yourself in a space where there's all of this, and they haven't been able to identify that prior to you or the other organizers, right? Then it's that in the moment, like intervening in the moment, trying to figure it out, right? How do we work with them, right? How do we
and we're really lucky
de-escalate?
actually that we have in the previous years we've had someone called Milo who's helped us out as a support worker, and now we have AJ who's also joined the team, and so we have people who are actually in that space who are trained for these kinds of interventions, and also just for like conflict situations. Like if there are teams that are getting a little bit heated because like the audio isn't quite what we want and it's not meshing with the theme and all that jazz, like you reach the end of day one or you're mid day two, like the stress can get to that point, and like we typically have pretty good teams. Like no one's like there's no fisticuffs over things necessarily, but there is a point where people get stressed or people are being allocated jobs that they're like, I actually really don't know what I'm doing, but like they seem to think I do. And so we have people in those space to be like, go and chat with Milo or AJ, like hash it out, see if maybe they can come to the table with you and have that conversation. And so it's great for just like conflict of avoidance or like what's the word, resolution. But for those in the space who are suddenly like looking around going like, why do I feel like really overstimulated or like this is really stressful for me, they can go and speak to them as well and be like, I'm not really feeling great, or I'm really feeling the pressure. And so they can give them some tools to deal with things. We obviously have facilities in the space to help assist with that, but it is a thing of sometimes people go into the space and they're like, oh, actually having this low stimulus room made a huge difference for me. And now I realize I might actually need that to help me decompress in different situations. I mean, like there's no diagnoses being made in the space, but also just we as people, I think having the opportunities or the options to be able to go and remove yourself from a space, or having that like low lighting time, which no one likes the big light in most of my friend groups, so I get it. And I'm also that person who does not like the big light. I only have it on because otherwise I would be in darkness right now. Because there's no sunshine outside my windows. But it is a thing of like, we also do like intake forms. So when people are applying to register for the jam, we're like, what do you need? Like, what can help you accessibility wise? And so like a lot of that has come from years of collecting that information and having, even if maybe no one that year is like, oh, like I need X, like we still have X on the back burner in case someone comes in and does actually need it and they didn't realize it, or they didn't know that they could ask for it. So it also helps folks advocate for themselves in the spaces too, which is always really nice. It's a lot because there's so many different considerations, but like it's always rewarding to know that we've been able to help someone in some way, maybe not perfectly, but do that little extra to like make them feel more welcome in the space.
No, that's huge. That's
I think as well, because obviously, as you said, you're looking at it from a feminism lens as well, that it probably, there's stuff like autism, ADHD, things like that, they're so underdiagnosed in female presenting people, purely because you're told that this is just how you are. Like, it's like your symptoms are not how that works. That's not how it goes.
You're just having a bad day.
Yeah, you're just emotional.
You're just having a bad day.
You're just
emotional,
hormones.
etc. Where you get to a space like that, and then you might actually realize that, oh no, wait, I do need this. I do need these considerations. Oh, because I've just been ignored like throughout my life from different areas and things like that. So having those as backups is fantastic, and I'm sure that will transfer a lot into the designs and stuff of the games. Like, I'm sure that actually accessibility is much more focused in, even though it might be difficult to do in the 48-hour period, but it's one of those things I think people just don't. We applaud certain games companies when they make accessibility accommodations for games, but it's never the expected thing to do. It's like, oh, this game did this really, really well. But if a game doesn't do it well, then it just doesn't get talked about. It's not like there's no accessibility options here and this is a bad thing. It's just like, oh well, they didn't do it, and you shouldn't expect it, where we really should expect it. And it's not about difficulty modes. It's like about actual accessibility options for people to be able to play the game, like color, different like outline. The Last of Us did it really well, didn't they? They have like
it was like the
different color outlines and stuff like and things that actually help people to play the game outside of the actual gameplay mechanics within it.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of it, especially because like, I mean, we're all going to get older and we're all going to keep wanting to play games. And so even just on that baseline, like we should be making things so that I want the massive font at the bottom of the screen so I can read the subtitles. Like now I'm kind of like, I'm at medium large at this point, like I have had my eyes tested recently, but like there's those kinds of thinkings that like but the reason we have that is because we have people in the development spaces who either require those those needs need to be met as part of like their experience gaming. There have been people who've helped allow them to advocate for that by being like community members as well. And I think that's been a big part of it. And this is why like diversification of the workforce is really important, because it's the reason why we have The Last of Us 2 having such like extensive accessibility modes. And I think God of War Ragnarok as well got a lot of love for how they dealt with it too. There was another game that did it super well, and I can't remember off the top of my head, so I apologize for anyone listening if they're like, it's this one. But it was that one. Um, but it's because we have people who are developers in that space who are like, these are accommodations we should be thinking of, and like, here's how we can do it. And it should take up time and money for the company because it means it's more accessible to more people. Like that shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. It should be seen as a baseline more than anything. And so like obviously for like first time devs, like we're not making them think about outlines and stuff, but we do talk to them about like font types, right? Like sans serif fonts are the easiest to read. So if you have like super calligraphy font for all of your like key dialogue, like even I am going to be like, what does that say, you know? And so things like that, color choices, like color palettes and things like that. And also if you're going to have like audio, like trying to have some kind of subtitling, depending, obviously they're not doing full cinematics or anything. If they did, it would blow my mind, but never say never. But it is things like taking that into consideration when you're making your first game. Is like, you know, you obviously can't do the full extent of things, you're not Santa Monica, but you are you, and you can put some things in or think about things or read about things. There's so many GDC talks about how to do this in a way that is efficient and helpful for folks. So,
yeah, you're building it in from the ground up rather than it being a afterthought once you're
exactly.
done, sort of a thing. Yeah.
It's funny because like it's not the same, but game tutorials always in a game jam, or even like some of the game projects I've seen students make, it's the last thing they make, and I'm like, no one's gonna know how to play your game. You can tell them WASD, but if you don't tell them space to jump, they're going to click everything else, and you're going to sit there as the dev being like, it's space, and it's like, you didn't tell them. And so that's just being able to access the game itself, not even just as an accessibility thing. But it's funny what gets put at the very end of these things. It's like the sounds, the tutorial, and then typically accessibility is like kind of an afterthought in the past. Now I think significantly less so. There's huge swathes of like industry professionals who like this is what they do, and it's great to see it continuing to grow as a profession. But yeah, it's something to just be like mindful of, like think about this when you're making these games, and yeah. And the other side of it that I really like, and I'll go back to masks, is like it's also a space for them to tell their stories if they are someone who is neurodivergent, is from a non-gender conforming, like on, you know, like there's all these different communities and things that they can use this game jam to be like, this is how I'm feeling about everything at the moment, and like this is the theme, and this is just how I'm going to go through this and have this conversation through game making. And that's something I really love too. Like the idea of like a game being based around like masking as someone who is autistic is really powerful, and I think that says a lot. There's lots of people who've made games about like going through depressive episodes and things like that, right? It's a space to like, here is my story and I want to share it with you in a way that is not just a story. It's you go through it and you interact with it, and make it tangible. So I think that's really neat as well.
It is. There's actually a Montreal-based development team, Folklore Games. They made a game called Spiral, and it was about a older gentleman named Bernard who is losing his memories, and you're playing through as Bernard, and he's reliving, you know, some key moments in his life, and I've had the, you know, the pleasure of meeting the team, and the story is very telling. And I remember that when they put it out on Kickstarter, that actually came out around the time that my great grandmother, who she lived with us she was with us for a very long time, right? Thankfully, but she was in that place where she was losing her memories, and it was very difficult to watch that, right? And to have a game that was telling that story and being able to see it from a different perspective, right? And allow us to be able to then you know, sort of sympathize and empathize and understand in a different way and experience it that way was really comforting. I kickstarted it, and I made sure that her name was in it because they, you know, they did a thing where they were like, you can put someone's name in this if you want, and I was like, yes, absolutely. All right. And I, full transparency, I have not fully played the game. My husband has played it, and I watched him play it because I was like, I don't know like how I would get through the whole thing, but watching it, like watching it and the story being told and everything, amazing. But
Yeah.
I think it's those sorts of things where the narratives and the stories that are being told can be really powerful, right? And can get you to think about other perspectives and other people. Another game that I think of that did something like that, and I know this game is divisive, was the second Life is Strange, playing as the two brothers, right?
Oh, okay.
Because they were half Mexican, and this was
Hmm.
at a time where there still is, but unfortunately, lots of
Mm.
racism and stuff in the United States, where obviously, again, that's why I say still is.
Yeah.
But you play as them, and there was one scene, right, that like I got very angry, right? Like, and it was meant to do that, right? And so great writing, great storytelling, um, but I remember just being like so mad, and I streamed the whole thing. So then of course I went on a rant, and and I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm like I I can sort of blend in places in the US, right? So I don't have that same sort of level of fear, but seeing this
Yeah.
happening and the reality of where we are, that was like a lot, right? But I'm like, these are
Hmm.
stories that need to be told. These are narratives that need to be told, right? These are things
Yeah.
that we should be aware of, and to have spaces to do that is
Yeah.
very important, right? And to be able to experience that when it's not your truth.
And this is it, right? Because I think a lot of people, like, I actually do a lot of my research is about like intentionality in games. So like what a developer wants players to get from the gameplay experience and what players actually get from it, right? And one of the big things for me is like a lot of the literature is like games and empathy is not like I don't play that game. I don't play Life is Strange 2 and go, I now understand this experience. I can sympathize, I can empathize, but like you don't, because there's this whole thing of like walk a mile in someone else's shoes and like
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. But the actual thing is like you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, you're a mile away and you have their shoes. Like that's really what it actually translates to. And so it's very much that point, like there's a validation of like this is a story being told because it's real and it's coming from something that's real, and so it validates that. And it's whole like I don't want politics in my games, but like it's there because it's something that's happening, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to acknowledge it, and it makes you acknowledge it. And some people aren't comfortable with that, some people don't know how to handle that. And then for some other folks it's like a way to be like, I see myself and my story or my experience being represented and I feel validated by that. I feel angry, but I feel validated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that's really important too, and as games as a medium to tell those kinds of stories.
100%.
Absolutely. And you get games that tell those stories that validate people, and then the people that say stuff like "I don't want politics in my game," they don't get it, but they still.
Yeah.
So like the big one that I always think of is like Celeste, and it's like this is a story about a trans woman like coming to terms with the fact that they're trans,
Yes.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and I when I played it, I empathized, but I also had a lot of like thoughts about myself because I suffer from depression, and it's
Hmm.
obviously going over these things. But then you have people that are just like, I don't want any of that. This is just a brutally difficult precision platformer, and I love it. Like, and I'm like, that's okay if that's all you
Mm-hmm.
take from it.
Yeah.
That's completely fine. But to then try and ignore the fact that this is a lot of people take different things from it because that's what games are for. Is
Yeah.
like it's a very specific way of telling a story. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very specific medium. You can't really do it in any other way,
Well,
and
and
that's why they're
it's
so important. Like,
yeah, and it's also the point of like you can say like, oh, this is just a super precise platformer. It's like you can say that, but the other thing is still true. That doesn't go away
yeah,
for you saying that's
Mm-hmm.
what this is. It is both this and also this, by the way.
yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
if
absolutely.
that's what makes you mad, like that's where the problem therein lies, right? It's like
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it's I think I think that games like having literally writing my literature right now, like it's all about the potential of games to tell stories because they are interactive. Although I watching films and TV is not a passive consumption thing. Social media has changed
absolutely not.
that.
Yeah,
Fan communities have
Mm-hmm.
totally like since Star Trek and beyond, it's different, but like it is a very different way to interact with the story, and people do such cool things with this as well. Like it's not just always like an overlay of a narrative. Like you're in it and you're living it and you're experiencing it, and that's always really cool as well as a way to tell a story. Is that you're the character in it, by the way. Make decisions, don't mess up,
yeah,
and if you
Mm-hmm.
do, find out what happens,
yeah.
which is great.
yeah, you're giving people agency, and especially when we talk about games like this with these sorts of themes, it will be people that a lot of the time feel like they don't have a lot of agency within their
Mhm.
lives, and you're giving them that agency to do things and work through it. And I think that's why one of the reasons that I love video games, and especially when we look at them from the very different ways that you can tell lots of stories. Another game that I absolutely loved and just completely caught me off guard. I don't know if either of you play. It's called The Veil: Shadow of the Crown,
I haven't played
No.
it
and
yet.
it is. There are no visuals. It is audio only, and it's
Ooh.
so you play it with a headset on. It's fully directional audio, so it's accessible to people that have like visual problems, so can't see or have limited vision. And you play through the entire game with just a blank screen in front of you. And you have to do all of the actions like find your way to the tavern or do combat encounters purely through sound. And it's so interesting, just so
That's
unique.
really
Like
cool.
it's such a cool game. You play it's set in like sort of medieval times.
Mm.
You play as like a female character who has to flee their home. And I started playing it looking at the blank screen on my ridiculously large television. And then I was like, I can't focus. Like this is just the visual noise of my room is
Mhm.
distracting to me. So
Oh,
I
that's
played
so
the rest of it
interesting.
with my eyes shut, just on my couch with my eyes closed, like listening out for these different sound cues and things like that in order to play through the game. And I was like, I would never have thought about a game like that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
like I can imagine people who have limited vision and who
Yeah.
have issues with their eyesight picking up that game and playing it, and it's so easy to then actually the audio cues are so well done, so
Mhm.
well designed that you're not stumbling around in the dark. You're not
Yeah.
you can hear where things are coming from. You're going over to them. You find your way into the tavern. Like it's so
Yeah.
good, and I can imagine how seen a lot of people would have felt just
Mhm.
from playing through a game that was made specifically
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
them. And then other people can enjoy it, but it gives you that sort of empathy, as we've spoken
Yeah.
about some of the different struggles that people go through. But I would highly recommend it to anyone. It's a
Ooh.
cracking game.
I'm gonna have
Like
to add it to my vastly growing game list that I have. It's so bad. I've really been trying to like not play too many games because I've just picked up Cyberpunk like 2 weeks ago, and I literally it is the thing I'm like sat writing my dissertation and just being like, could go play a gig right now. That'd be really fun. But it's why like it's I have this like list. I'm trying to pepper in though like the things that are like shorter games. Like I played
Mhm.
Insert Discs Fives. This game will end in 205 clicks, and I
wow,
recommend that one.
yeah,
It's super short. Cried over my oatmeal over it. It was so great. We played it in the morning. And then there's Camille and Laura by Bonjour Borzoi that I want to play next, which is I can't remember the full premise of it, but it's like the art's all like childlike drawings.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think it's like supposed to be a coming of age story, but I'm that's like next on my list of games to play that are like something that is outside of like the triple A space.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm
yeah,
excited to put that one onto the radar too.
oh, absolutely. I feel you. My backlog is obscene. It is a
And
testament
then
to Steam summer sales and his
honestly,
absolute grip on me.
Literally.
well,
It's like go through. There's like 294 games on it, and for some reason I have them all categorized into like how long they take to beat. Because I'm like, that's fine. That means I can do it. And then I look at it and I go,
nope.
like, yeah. And then I just go on Steam and I buy something and I play that for the day. Like, I'm just like,
It
that's
doesn't
it.
help when really great like multiplayer games keep coming out as well or like getting updates. So like Peak, for example, just absorbed my life for 2 weeks, and I too want to play more of it because I have never cackled like I have in a game than I have in Peak. And then Helldivers 2 just got a massive update, and I
Mhm.
really Helldivers 2 is so good. I have laughed at that as well, and I've also felt like I'm like in the zone with it and being like leaning into it. But every time they do an update, I'm like, no, now I'm gonna go back to it instead of getting further through my
Yeah.
stupid library.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I'm here for the resurgence of like just a really fun co-op game.
Oh, so
Like
good.
we did there's enough PvP, there's enough battle royales, there's enough things that will just stress me out. that I don't need to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to play Warzone. I'm in my 30s. I don't have the reaction time for it anymore. Like I just can't do it. Like but things like Peak where you could just be like, no, precious Bing Bong, come with us. We will go to the top of the mountain and then I'll
Yes.
yeet myself off a cliff. Or
Yes.
like before we started the podcast, we were talking. We did a community game session just before where we all
Yep.
just played Among Us, and it was great. It's like, yeah, bring back co-op gaming, but in
I
low
think,
stress, good environments.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not someone just shouting at you.
yeah, I think that's it. I think we're seeing many more of it. I know that like the Steam, like not Steam, the oh my gosh, Twitch, like communities and like streamers are like that. So like for them to connect, it's why it's like a big pull right now as well. But like there is definitely the resurgence that's coming. I think there's like a new one that's coming out called A Long Walk, which is like a similar co-op game, but you have to do like all these puzzles and stuff. And like my other half and I are like, we are definitely booting up that once it hits the market,
Mm-hmm.
because there's not enough. And the other one we complain about is not enough couch co-op games. It Takes
Yes.
Two and
Yeah.
Split Fiction. Make more please now, but don't crunch yourself to get to that point. But please more, because it's great, and I love playing them that way as well. Couch co-op
Yeah.
is, there needs to be so much more of it than there is right now. But it's great co-op games. And like you said, I don't want to do PvP. I don't need to be shouted out on the internet. It's enough. The internet shouts at everyone on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
playing with your friends is like the best way to go about it these days.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get more of those like resurgence with those sorts of things. You know, I noticed that I was at PAX East in May, and then some of the games that I saw there started to come out, and they were the very reminiscent of the old school like side-scrolling beat 'em up games.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are like the perfect types of games for couch co-op, right? Like you get 2 to 4 of like your loved ones, friends, strangers on the street that like video games, you know, whatever your bag is.
Yeah.
And you plug in controllers and you play them, right? And I was like, this is great, because that's something that was very nostalgic for me and something that I can do at home without having to worry about like, all right, let me find someone online and let me do this. And not that I hate those games, right? Obviously we just, you know, like we said, we played Among Us this morning.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm seeing that in some ways there is this resurgence of things that we grew up with, you
Yeah.
know, and those like couch co-ops are one of them. And a few like escape room puzzle-ish games where it's like 2 people, like I'm seeing that a little bit more. But I'm definitely seeing that from more indies than like the bigger names.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that's, I mean, a lot of the big studios now will go with assured IP or franchises because they want to have an assured income of things. But like there are indies out there that are making some really cool things that like you don't know about them until like Blueprints came out of nowhere for me. Did I use this very notebook to write down all of the minutiae of the puzzles, and like as if I was, you know, MI6 trying to crack this puzzle? Yes, it was great. I lost all sense of time for like 2 weeks during its launch because it was awesome. And it's such a not simple concept, but like it's such a great tight game loop. But like I didn't know anything about it till it came out. And I think like it's to your point, like it's a lot of the indies that are doing this because like there's a big market for it, and two, I also wonder if this is like a post-pandemic thing of like people still wanting to connect and play together online, and so having the games to do that makes a huge difference too, and games that are fun and make you laugh and aren't like PvE always. You know, it's nice that like we're seeing a lot of games that aren't about like, well, I mean, now depending how you play Peak, it's not about murdering, but sometimes an errant frisbee might be peel across the screen and someone might get cussed out. It's like but proximity mics, man, I'm not going to get bored of that. It is always funny when you hear Doppler effect as someone falls off the mountain. And yeah, it's so good. It makes me laugh every time. I don't know, it's just so good. But yeah, I totally, resurgence of the stuff that we used to play is always awesome to see, especially with the modern twist on it or new takes on it or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean you know, thinking of the side-scrolling beat 'em ups, there's one that I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it's called Rah Rah Boom, and you're playing. They're not cheerleaders per se, but that's sort of how they
okay.
That's sort of how they talk about the characters in like a very basic sense. Once you look at them, you're like, these are not the stereotypical cheerleaders by any. One's in like a suit of armor, one is like a ninja, right? So they're
Nice.
all very different female presenting characters, but rah rah boom sounds fun.
Yeah.
But and thinking about the accessibility thing, the rows are all actually very laid out, so you know what row you're in. It's not the guess of like, I have to look at the shadow to make sure I'm in the right space to hit this thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, when I was 8, I didn't have to worry as much about knowing what row I was in because my reaction time was great, my eyes were great, like everything was great, right? At 38, I need these rows to know what lane I'm in, right? I need the
Point
lanes.
me to the enemy.
Like,
Yeah.
I need the lane. Tell me where I am. Show me the thing. And they mentioned it as like, yeah, it was just something we included. I'm like, you think this is just something you included? This is amazing, right? This
Yeah.
is fantastic. Like, I can't stop bragging enough about this thing that I had nothing to do with, but I love it, right? And
Yeah.
but it's part of that, like, thinking about how are people going to continue to play games? How are people who maybe need different accessibility issues going to continue to do things, right? And that one little change, right, made a big difference in the way that I look at it. And even though I haven't had a chance to play it, as soon as it went on sale, I bought it. I was like, it's released now, I'm buying it, right? Because I love that you thought about this and I want to support it, right? And I think that is a testament to some of these games and these indie games that are doing something creative, doing something new, taking all of these different considerations into play because it is representative of who they are, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And then they make it a reality.
And it makes me think a lot about like with our, because we obviously also, GAMERella has a mentorship program that's running right now. We have 15 amazing mentees and 14 amazing mentors that are like on, and they're in phase 1 right now. And the ideas and the concepts and the things that the mentees want to make are so cool. And I'm just like, I just want to find the publishers and go give them money now because this is going to be awesome. And like, they're all so talented. And even like the folks who didn't make it into the program, like it was a hard selection process because they all have like these, and everyone has amazing ideas, but like the execution on them too is just cool and consistent. And it's just like, it's nice to have, and I know that there's more of this kind of like community driven, like mentorship driven stuff that's coming up the pipeline for other spaces. And I'm like, good, encouraging, do more of it because we need more of it for folks because I think a lot of juniors feel like they have to go to the AAA and that's what gets them established and so on and so forth. And then there's those who are like, I want to start a studio and I want to do this. And it's like, you got to support them in their ideas and what they can make because that's how we end up with these games that are unique and are doing something different and telling an important story or just doing something really cool with game mechanics that you would not have thought about because they've come in and they've subverted how it works. And I think that that's something that's like really important about the initial start of it all, whether it's a game jam, whether it's like early experimentation and not feeling like I must learn how to do a PvP shooter so I can get a job at X company and then I can go do the thing I want to do next. Like, I don't want junior devs to silo themselves so early because you don't get the fun of what making games is without doing stuff that's silly and fun and stupid with no like means to an end. And I think that's what's really nice about game jams is like, yes, you can potentially use this beyond that. You could add it to your portfolio. It could also be 2 days of you just goofing around with a silly mechanic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite work in the end, but you've come away with something about it. And I think that's what's really cool. Maybe that's, you end up with the lanes so that you can figure out where you are in different things, right? Like that's
100%.
what it's about. It's about playing, without being ironic or too heavy-handed, but it is about playing with game making, a lot of it too.
I think it also helps you know, do I want to make something like this in the future or is this not the thing I want to make, right? And I think that is just as important as knowing what you want to make, right? And I'm not secretive about this, like I work in higher ed and I work with students and I tell them all the time, it's okay to experiment and try different things because you need to know what you don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
And now is the time to do that, right? A 48-hour game jam is the time to try something new, and if it's not for you, then you don't do it again in the future, right? And the next time when you join GAMERella's game jam again next year, you do something different, right? And you try something new.
Yeah, and to the point of higher ed, like, and I know this was a problem for me, is like you also have like assignments and rubrics that you have to adhere to. So you're too afraid. If you're someone who is like, for me, I was like, had to be the straight A student. Getting a B meant I had to go curl up in bed and cry, which is, I'm over that now, but for a while it was hard. Like, but you are afraid to experiment and go outside the box because you fear what it might do to like your grade or whatever. Whereas like jams, and even just getting together with a couple of your friends and spending a weekend being little like game making gremlins and eating pizza and whatever, like do that, have fun with it, like lean into it in that way that it's like productive and fun for you, so that you can get the experimentation. So you can, if you don't feel like you can do it in your classes, and there are some phenomenal profs out there who are like, I'm just going to give you an A. I don't care, but will you just have fun with it? Like, don't stress about it being perfect. I think that is something that I know and have heard in plenty of classrooms. But it doesn't matter if you're someone who's like, no, if I don't get the GPA, then I can't. It's like, no, like have fun, like go and experiment, make something weird, make something super broken that you're like, wow, this was a trash fire. Like when I was in my undergrad, one of the assignments was you had to blend 2 franchises or 2 games and make a wireframe of a game of that. And so I chose Assassin's Creed and Octodad because I thought it'd be hilarious to try and see how you could be an assassin as Octodad. Turns out terrible, really bad, can't do it. But it was hilarious making the process.
I would play that game though. I would play that game.
It's so silly. Like the idea of trying, it's quite, but this is it, right? Like I was very fortunate that I was given the space to be able to, shout out Brunel University, to be able to do that and make things that were like a little bit funky and silly, and like they encouraged a bit of the weird. And I think that makes a huge difference to like how you think about design as well, for sure. So yeah, Octo Assassin coming 2028, clearly.
I'll kickstart it. That sounds amazing.
I mean, is that also maybe like the sequel to Assassination Classroom?
There you go. See, this is true. I haven't watched it. Do you know exactly what you're referring to?
Yeah, Kudo Sensei is tentacled octopus, and you know, maybe that's how it spirals. You never know.
It could be. You never know. Maybe it's his prologue. You know.
It's more arms to hold more weapons. That's like
exactly.
It's just like the best way you could do it. Like
I enjoy though the idea of trying to be stealthy whilst like you have this clattering arsenal of everything in your like your shuriken, and then you're like, oh man, I've got to be quiet. The whole thing of like, yes, you're in plate armor. You can roll stealth, but it's gonna be at a -3, guys. Like, it's gonna be noisy.
Oh my god.
Roll you like.
Now I'm a little sad that game never came to fruition.
I mean, I know. I decided to take the academic route. There's still time. I'm also currently making a game for my dissertation, so like, who knows after that, maybe I'll pick back up Octo Assassin and try and make it. I have no idea what that would look like. Chaos.
I'm here for it.
Wonderful chaos.
Like,
I'm 100% here for it. We would do a special episode where we just play it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now it's in the vision board.
100%. So tell me, you know, because we keep going back and forth with the jams and what people are creating, but is there something that like has really surprised you that has come out of some of the jams? And it doesn't have to be like a game per se, like even just something you've seen from, you know, the people that are working on things, or, you know, I know sometimes like I see the stuff that the students are working on and the way they're working on it, and sometimes what surprises me is not even what they make, but like the bonds that have happened when they're working on these intensive times. I mean, I know a phrase that gets thrown around so much is like trauma bonding, but I feel like these moments and these things do the opposite. And I feel like that's I've seen that, and I feel like it's very special and very unique, and something that doesn't always get talked about a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that doesn't surprise me, but always makes me laugh, is when we first go into the jam, the big thing we always say to them is scope. It's like, you can't make the next Assassin's Creed in the next 42 hours. Like, that's not going to happen for you. I love your energy, love your enthusiasm. I promise you, it's not going to happen. But like, so that's always one of the big struggles, is like the thing that doesn't surprise me with this. Like, you go in and they're like, we're gonna have like this 8th level, and I'm like, 8th? Let's try 1 first. Let's bring it back. I love it. Go you, but also try 1 first, and then let me know. And then I see them later, and they're like, so we made 1 level, and I'm like, and it looks great. It looks awesome. Anything that surprised me that's come out from it? I mean, okay, honestly, like last game jam, and it's not because it hasn't happened in previous game jams, but like there was a point where there was like a palpable quiet because of how in everyone was. Everyone was super focused, and like normally I'm used to like a bit of chatter and some giggling and stuff like that, but like folks were locked in. And it was to the point that myself and my co-organizer Owen even looked at each other and went, it's quiet in here. And it was, everyone was just heads down doing things. Like they were chattering amongst the teams, people had like foods and drinks and stuff. And it was just like, I think for me, maybe what surprised me is like every year the vibe is still good. And it's like there's always exceptions, like little moments here and there across like the decade and a bit that we've been doing it. But people are so generous with each other and so excited to do it and like really do get stuck in with it. And I think that's what's really nice. Like it's not like a blasé like, oh well, I don't care what happens. It's like they care. Sometimes they care too much, and that's why we're there to help them be like, it's okay, it's 2 days and it's not the end of the world if it doesn't come out to be what you want. But I think that's something that has always pleasantly surprised me, is how in the zone people get. And like that's why when we're like organizers and mentors walking around going like, do we want to interrupt them? They seem kind of happy. Like I don't want to harsh their vibe or anything. And it's great, honestly. And I think that's the bit that's always like so nice with a jam, is like end of day one, like by like post dinner, everyone's just in doing things, and you can hear from the headphones the little tings and of music that they're making, or like the jumping sounds, and I'm just like, it's great. I love to see it.
No, that's like the stuff that I think is so cool and so like rewarding, right? Because obviously the reason that organizations, like GAMERella and stuff exist is because those spaces haven't existed before, which is I don't want to say full on depressing, right? But it's a detriment to gaming as a whole, right? So then what comes out of that, what comes out of not having that space is then people like yourself and the rest of your co-founders and the mentors who were like, okay, so let's create this space. And then let's see what happens, right? And let's open it up and let's make it wider and let's bridge these gaps so that we can have those really rewarding and serene moments of look at how well these people are working on these things and coming together and working on this and making something new and exciting, so that hopefully, right, the next generation will not have to fight as hard to have those spaces existing.
And GAMERella's been running for long enough now that folks who did the jam back in 2013 are in the industry and are making space for folks like them who back in like a decade ago were like at their first jam. And I think that's something that's really rewarding about it too, is like the work that's going into it now, the creation of time and space and support, is meaning that like there are folks who are in the industry now, not just directly because of GAMERella, like I think even without GAMERella, like there would be still like, it's more about the fact that they are like, let's keep this going, let's like keep the like pay it forward kind of mentality, which I've always loved. And like all of our we have mentors who've been with us for like over a decade now, and they come in and they're great and they are so supportive, and every year they're like, what time, what place, let me know when, and like they're there, and I think that's something that's really important about it too. And I think the bridging the gap of it all is like making it so that there is spaces in the industry for them that are also supportive, and that they're not being slotted into a mold of like, this is now how you will do things. Obviously everything has an industry standard, that's not what I'm getting at. It's more about like the culture fit and all that jazz that becomes an issue, right? And I think that's something that's nice to see, is like tangible shifts in these spaces and a prioritization of not having a quote culture you have to slot into. And then also like we're super lucky that Gain did they're in the works of making like a toolkit for things for post jam stuff, which is awesome. Nice. And so that's something that's like we're really fortunate to have, that we can share with our jammers and be like, okay, you made this thing, you want to do more with it, do you want to put it in your portfolio, do you want to see if you can get funding, like et cetera, right? And that's really cool too.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, that's just important, because even the things that they work on there, as they add it to their portfolio, like that is then you've given them the space to take this thing that they've made to take the next step, right? And given them the space to experiment with it and the space to say, okay, now I have this thing that maybe I didn't feel comfortable making before because I didn't have the space to make that, right? And
they didn't have the team.
Or they didn't have the team. Yeah. They didn't have the mentor. Where do they find it, right? Like, what do they do?
Exactly. And I think one of the big things as well, and like if anyone who is like a junior or a green programmer, artist, maker, designer, like the biggest piece of advice I keep hearing as someone who has sat at many a panel about like, how do I get hired? How do I make it? Blah, blah, blah. Just put it out there. Like, don't be worried about the thing that looks a bit weird and janky and like isn't like super clean. Just put it on a portfolio, put it on your art station, because a lot of hiring folks who are hiring and like team leads want to see that you've made stuff. And if you only ever put the perfect thing, I'm a spoiler right now, you're gonna put 2 things up there when you have about 20 you could share. And that's like the big thing I would say to folks as well, is like, go do the jams, do the things, like make stuff. Don't be afraid of making stuff, and don't be afraid of putting it out there, because you will be one of many people who have like a slightly weird, wonky art thing, but like it's still good. Just put it out there. No one's going to be like, oh, the eyes a bit weird. They're like, oh, look, they made this thing. That's neat. And they made something later on. That's also neat. You can see how they've grown over time.
Yeah, but how many art styles do we see that are not the traditional art style?
Exactly.
And that's what draws people in, right?
Exactly.
Like I don't I have said this before, and I'm not gonna say it's easy, right? But I have said it's easy to make a pretty game, right? And again, not that it's easy, right? It's easy to make a pretty game in the sense of like, yes, there are assets and there are things that are out there that are already pre-made and all this other stuff, and you can pull those in. It is not easy to make something that stands out, right? And standing out could be that your art style is maybe what you think is a little wonky because you're thinking of this pretty thing. And someone looks at what you've made that you might have been afraid to share before, and they're like, oh, that's actually a really interesting like take on this form, or you know, whatever. And I would love to see a game that has this aesthetic, right? And then all of a sudden you have something, you know, that people normally would have been, that traditionally, right? And I'm using these terms with air quotes. Sorry, audio listeners. You know, traditionally people would be like, oh, that's not pretty, that's not cute. Like, not everything needs to look like, you know, the most updated Final Fantasy game, right? Like, not everything needs to like, you know, it could be blocky, right? Maybe people want that nostalgia feel, right? I mean, so
the PlayStation 1 and 2 graphics are coming back.
Like,
they are in full swing.
I love that because I would take it a step further than Candy, because I sent someone an Instagram reel that I found the other day about the RTX here thing they're talking about in the Indiana Jones DLC. Now, I've not played the Indiana Jones game, but I am assured that it's a very, very good game. And like, I've got a huge amount of time for the studio, and I'm sure it's great. But when I saw that side by side, and it's like, here RTX on, here RTX off, and then I saw this reel, I was like, no, this is how I feel about this. And it's like, oh look, you can count the individual hairs on their heads, and then it's just another guy being like, that's it, I've had enough. Actually, graphics are banned from games. They are banned. Everyone will be forced to be playing obscure Japanese text-based adventures until fun continues. Like, it's just like, you know, like, because I don't really care. Like, I don't care about I don't care about the individual hairs on my own bloody head. Like, I'm not counting Indiana Jones's fucking hair. Like, shut up. Like,
honestly, it's like, it's so that, and it's something that like, oh gosh, it always drives me crazy when everyone gets really into the weeds about the graphics of a thing, because I'm like, but now my potato laptop won't be able to run it because you can count the breeze is fluttering Indy's, you know, hair and I'm like, it's very pretty. I appreciate that. Who doesn't love real-time hair movement? But also, it's going to blow up my laptop because of it.
It's so pretty. Peak has sold 5 million copies, and they're little guys. Like,
truly,
like, like, come on, like.
I mean, and that's
the
thing.
Just make a fun game.
Make a fun game. Make a game that has good gameplay, right? So, you know, GAMERella jammers, when you are listening to this, right, don't focus on making it pretty, right? Pretty can come later. Pretty doesn't need to happen, right? Just focus on the gameplay, the mechanics. If you're telling a story, like the story that you're telling, right? Like, and even then,
the story doesn't need to be pretty. Like, the game, I'm doing a visual novel, and like the first chunk of it was like very story beat, and also like at the end I would always have, because obviously you're building friendships with like the player character, and sorry, the NPCs. I'd always have like a little thing being like, this is how much Linda likes you. And of course, that's not how I'm going to put it in the actual game. Like, that would, I mean, I could, it would be funny, but like, that's not, like, you have to put the bit of the funkiness in there because it's fun. It's part of the making of it all. And like, yes, I'll polish it further down the line, but like, it's in the same for like the way I wrote the story. It's just a big mind map of all the things that could happen to this character. Like you got to start from somewhere that is unpolished and funky, and then you write it. And I promise you're going to write it 300 times more, and it still could be written more. Much right back to your first point of like design never stops. It doesn't stop when you're making one game, but also if you're a maker, if you're a creator, it never stops your whole career. Everything you learn, you will carry on to your next project, and your project after that, and your project after that. Like, you won't reach the apex of like, I truly am now a designer. I have won at designing or making stuff. It's like, no, you're going to make your next thing, and you're going to have second guesses about that. You know, it's just nature of the beast, nature of being creative.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And you know what? It's not even just the nature of being a creative. When I was a teenager, I worked at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I remember that the owner of the Dunkin' Donuts, one of the things that he had shared, and I was like, this is so true for everything. And I remember at the time, because I was like 16 and a brat, being like, why is he telling me this? Now I look back and I'm like, oh no, he was right. No matter what it is that you're doing, right? Whether it is creative work or just like a job, there is something that you will take from that work, that position, and you will take it with you into the next place and continue to refine it, right? So it's not even just creatives, like that is just a life thing, right? That is part of being alive, that you will take some skill or some practice, move it to the next place, and you'll be like, wow, I didn't realize that this thing that I did would actually help me in this position, in this role, in how I make decisions every day. And yet now here it is, right? So it's like, it is just so, as it's human, right? I think that's the thing. Ultimately, it is human to
human
not
experience.
stop growing and to keep refining, and hopefully you were trying to be better than you were the day before, right? If you're trying to be worse the day before, I have concerns, right? Like,
because we know what happens to people when they decide that they've learned enough and they become bad people. I'm just going to say it. Like, again, people can fight with me in the comments, because I ask people to do this all the time. Because I'm always here with my like slightly hot takes. Like, but if you're not striving, or if you feel like you can't learn from something when you're doing it because you're already shit hot, I guarantee, one, you're not shit hot, and two, that you're becoming a worse person. But if you think you already know everything, like,
and
you can't.
Everyone around you is going to keep trying to grow and continue to learn, and you will be left behind. Like, that is also what happens with this, and it's unless you like wake up and smell the creative bacon, like, you know, you're not going to realize it. Like, there's stuff you can still learn. Doesn't matter how many times. Like, the flip side of this is also, don't assume you know nothing, because that's the wonderful basis of imposter syndrome. Woo. And you do know things, right? And that's the other part of it as well. It's like, it is a constant balance. I mean, for myself, like, I'm like, I know nothing, and then sometimes I'm like, I actually was pretty good at this thing. But like, you have to find that balance in yourself as well, and know what you can take from the previous experiences you've had, and what you'd like to learn, or what you are taking on from the current experience, and how you apply it to the future. So it's all part of it. It's all part of it. You're right. It's not just creative work. It's doing things in general. Life.
It's living.
Yeah.
It's just living. And if living for you is being creative, then it applies to being creative. If living to you is like being the person, because I say this to my students, like, I'm like, to me, it is the person who's going to play your game when you finish it. I tell them I'm the end user, right? I'm like, you want to make something and you need someone to test it out? Bring it to me, right? I will try it out. I will do it. And that is my contribution to this whole thing, right? So if your thing is, I'm going to get better at different sorts of video games or different sorts of puzzles, and, whatever it is, I'm going to be a better talker. I don't remember what episode this will be, but 13-ish weeks ago, let's say, right? 13-ish weeks ago, I would have told you I have no idea how to do a podcast. Never done one, don't know how to do it. Here we are, right? So like, just take what you've learned from other things. I know how to talk, and now here we are talking, right? So you never know what will count towards it.
We're not professional yappers instead of just yappers.
Exactly. Like, it's like my bio is a professional overthinker, because I analyze games and make things and consider structures. So it's all part of it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It is really all part of it. So, I think that's important for people to know, whether or not you find yourself drawn to a game jam or trying something within gaming or outside of gaming, whatever whatever that is for you. Like, try
Yeah.
it. Just do it. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay too. You've learned something new about yourself and you've continued to move forward and grow.
You'll be leagues ahead of the people who will just never try. Like, it's always better to try and fail than to have never tried at all. And in the same vein, like, one of the pieces of advice one of my supervisors gave me was like, done is better than perfect. Just finish it, whatever you do, like whether it's a drawing in a book, whether it's a story you have, just finish it, even if it's just blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. Like, if it's done, you've done it. It's a completed thing and you can tick it off. And it feels good to have done that for yourself, so you don't have 400 half-finished projects, which I might have, including Octodad and Assassin's Creed.
100%. 100%. That's, you know, better to just get the movement going.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's like a key thing for people that we get stuck in, right?
Mhm.
Life sometimes will kind of sort of beat you down, but you have
It
to
can.
get back up, right?
Yep.
And do the thing, whatever positive thing it is, just try it out. Just
Yeah.
do it. And in that, you know, sort of regard, it doesn't have to be just the game jam, just for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have like an inspiring story? And you mentioned a few, but if there's another one, you know, so we can keep adding more positivity to the world. Like any inspiring stories or moments to share from you and gaming. And again, it could be undergrad, grad, your thesis, game jam.
Oh my gosh, that's really tough. Yeah, I'm
Because there's
trying to
just
think,
so
like,
many, right?
yeah, it's exactly what it is. Not because I'm racking my brain trying to think. I think, I think for me, maybe like, and it's probably on theme with this, is like the doing of things. So doing the PhD, for example, for me, right, has taught me so much about myself and how I operate and the systems in which I operate in a way that has been like both like, oh gosh, and also like, oh, right, that makes sense, right? And I think that that's the part of the doing of the thing is you're not just learning about like getting experience to carry on to the next thing, but you're also going to learn about yourself a lot. And like my PhD's taken slightly longer than I wanted it to. There's 100 reasons why, but I'm still carrying on. I'm still getting on with it, and I know I'll finish it one day, and I'll walk the stage, and I'll get the fun hat and the scroll and everything in between. But like, I think it's less about it's always less about like it's about the journey. Like, I just realized I'm now saying that. Oh god, but it is about the journey. Oh no, I've become the villain I always knew I'd be. It's not necessarily like when I finish my dissertation, it's going to be great, and it will be kind of about what I write and what I make there. But the last 7 years of doing this PhD has taught me so much. I would not be doing GAMERella if I was not doing this PhD. I would not have joined and made it into a nonprofit if that hadn't been the case. And I think like that for me is like it's about like you're always on the right path. Like the path you will be course corrected a little bit. Like, I'm not to get too like, you know, metaphysical about it all, but like do it. Try not to be scared. I know apparently like a lot of Brene Brown's work is taken from a lot of Black female scholars, but I highly recommend watching Daring Greatly or The Call to Courage, sorry, on Netflix, because that is like a really strong like just get in the ring and do it talk that like helps frame a lot of how I've tried to approach. And I have days where I'm like, I don't want to be in the ring. The ring's really scary and I'm tired. But there's times where you have to just get into the ring, crack on with it, and go for it. And I think that that's probably like maybe not a story of quote inspiration, but like it's like get into it. Like, don't be afraid to just get into it, because along that way you will be approached with things and things will come your way that you would never have anticipated. Like I could tell 18-year-old Courtney now, like, oh yeah, you've made a couple games, you're running a GAMERella and this, that, and the other. She'd be like, who are you? How did this happen? What? Like, I just started making games and writing stories in undergrad, and now like, where am I doing things? It's like, yeah, girl, like it picks up. It's kind of crazy. And I think that that's something that like, especially if you're like starting out, like there will be a moment when you look back and you're like, holy moly, if I could tell younger me this, like they wouldn't believe me in a good way, not in a like, what do you mean, what do you do, in a like, you know, holy crap, you did it, like you did the thing. And I think that's something that like would be my biggest piece of advice. Yeah. An inspiration.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love that because I I had something like that similar, and I've said this to Dano, who runs Gamer Social Club, right? I
Mm.
was like, obviously we do this for fun, right? We're not professionals and whatever. But like when I was younger, right? And I mean like young, like I always thought it'd be cool to like review games and like be a journalist and do things like that, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, now I get to do, like, I'm getting games to review and I'm getting games to like play and talk about it with people, and being able to have like moments like this, you know, with you, where we're talking about creating games and game development and all these sorts of things, right? And I'm like, if young me like could see that, she'd be like, I'm so happy with the person I became.
Exactly. And it has to start from somewhere. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure for you guys, like I know the first game I made was a POS. Like it was not good. You know, and it's fine. Like I look back on it and I have like a level of endearment towards it now, where I'm like, oh, like that sucked, but you know, it's where I started. Same with the
Yeah.
first story I wrote. Like I go back and read stuff I wrote when I was like 13 and 18, and I'm like, oof,
Mm-hmm.
there's some choice words in here that I don't know. Or the story was definitely, you know, ooh, yikes. But like that's what's given me the direction to go, and I think that's the thing. It's exactly that. Like I'm sure your first review was like, you look back on it now. I'm not saying that your first review POS or anything like that, but I'm sure you look back on it and you think, oh, there's definitely things I could improve now. But
Mm-hmm.
you're doing that version of it now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's but you did it. You started it. You started that process,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you can now do that and look back and go like, look at me. I'm doing it now. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think my first review, I still love it. I'm very proud of it. But I think it was only about 600 words long.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was
Yeah.
just like, there was no depth to it really. It was just like, this game's amazing, and I'm going to tell you why I love it. But there was no real discussion of any of the proper gameplay mechanics to it, or any accessibility, or anything like
Yeah.
that. And usually you go back and you're like, this is half done, essentially. This is just like, you did not finish this. You were just like, oh, this game's great, love it. Like,
10 out of 10.
yeah, 10 out of 10. Like, I mean, the game was great. It's a game called Ultros. Again, I will recommend it to anybody because it's one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, it's just a bit like, you look at it now and I'm like, that you did half a job and then you just submitted that.
And then you published it.
You're just
But
like,
that's it.
there's only 3 or 4 of us that worked at the site at the time. It's like, well, I'm the reviews editor. It looks good to me. Like,
This is fine.
I'm saying yes to myself. Go me.
yeah. I've checked my own
Exactly.
work and I've decided I'm great. Like,
Yeah. But that's the thing as well, like that's not something that like, you know, you're never going to meet anyone in your time and then they'd be like, that 600-word review you wrote was like that's not how this goes. They're looking at the more
Mhm.
current stuff you do, and that's also a thing to say to the juniors reading, like listening and watching. It's like no one is going to shame you, and if they do, tell me and I'll go fight them for you. Like no one's going to shame you for the stuff you made early on. Like that is, and if you have to start from somewhere, so like do not be self-conscious about it, you know, put it out there, be proud.
Yeah. And if they're shaming you for the stuff that you did at the start of like your time, is that
what have
really
they
the
done?
place you want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
Well, what
do
have they
they?
done?
What was their first thing that they made? Do they have it out on the
Yeah.
internet? They're not very
Mhm.
brave then. That's what that sounds like to me. So yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, bravery and vulnerability in showing pieces of yourself that you've worked on
Yeah.
is huge. And the people that are in places that you probably want to be are going to care about that.
Yeah.
And they're not going to mock you for those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And if they do, you don't want to be them. You don't want to
No.
work for them. You
I'll
don't
fight
need
'em for
you
you.
don't need that sort of negativity in your life.
No.
Like,
Absolutely not. Hell no. They will
Mhm.
those are the people that will stifle your creativity.
Exactly.
And
That's the mold. That's
yeah.
the, you're supposed to fit into this. You're supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and that's what you should see on a portfolio. And it's like there are things you should see on a portfolio for sure, but put the other stuff on there too.
Yeah.
As someone who reviewed portfolios for the mentorship program, obviously part of it was helping build their portfolio, but like don't be afraid to have other stuff on there.
Yeah, how many indie games or games from smaller studios or whatever do we need to like sell millions of copies or to be the thing that everybody's talking about before people
Yeah.
really get that?
Exactly. I mean, there's been so many of those stories now. Like, I mean, Stardew Valley is getting a 1.7 update, and the game has been out forever. And it started from the very first, you go right the way back to what the early Stardew Valley looks like. It don't look cute. but that's where it started.
Yeah.
No hate to Concerned Ape, but that's the point. Like, it's grown, it's polished, it's improved, and like Undertale, and Balatro. Like, I'm thinking like obviously like the solo. They're not entirely solo, but solo devs and stuff. Like, it starts from somewhere. It starts from something, and then it grows from there. And I think that's it. Like, just get in, make something, and you'll eventually get to your one that hits the market in a way that you don't expect.
Just be the old school Shia LaBeouf meme and just do it.
Just do it.
Don't let your dreams be memes.
Exactly.
So I know we're getting close to like our time frame that we try to keep the podcast to. And you've mentioned some games as like games as recommendations earlier, and I know V has jotted some down, and I've jotted some down, and I saw you jot some things down that we've mentioned. But if you had a game or something that came out of the one of the game jams, up to you, that you would really say this is my true recommendation for this like podcast, what would it be? I know there's so many games out there to choose
There's
from.
so many, and I almost don't want to pick. It's like I don't want to pick my. It's like they're not like my children, because that feels weird as a dynamic. But it's like the games are like, they're all so cool. I honestly, like, I think my main recommendation would be to go to our itch.io page and go look through the games. Like, each of the themes are obvious, so if there's like a specific theme that jumps out to you, and just play through like a couple minutes of each of them and just see how many different things people did with Hearth as a theme, with masks, extraction. Like, I think that would actually be my recommendation rather than a specific game, because there's such a multitude of different ways that people did the theme for the jam, and like the different skill levels that are there. And like, I think that would be for like looking through and seeing things, and then go check out their own itch.ios. If they all tend to have them connected, and like some of them are making really cool stuff right now, and more on that maybe on the horizon. But like, that's like, that would be my recommendation. Like, maybe not a specific game, but like, go check out last year's. It's cool. There's some really cool stuff made last year.
Yeah, and we'll
and
link
then
it down.
This year's as well.
Yeah, we'll link it down in the description below too, so that everyone can find that site like pretty easily, so that way it'll just be a click away for everybody. So
fabulous.
I know itch.io sometimes is like a little fussy with trying to search for things, so we'll link you directly, so you can see all the things that people have played or people have created as part of the game jam, and then you can play them. And we didn't clear this. I didn't even clear this with V, but maybe after the game jam, if you want to come back and we can talk about how this year's game jam went.
For sure.
Absolutely. That'd be great.
100%.
Sounds good.
Because this year's in person and online.
It is in person and online. It is the 15th and 16th of November. I don't know if the online will be as global as we like, because it's a lot to plan a global one.
Yes.
But watch this space. It would be something we'd like to do in the future, just so folks know. It's just, we had like a 4-person team, and it was not enough humans to do what we did. It was quite a feat to pull off, honestly. But yeah, 15th and 16th of November, and I don't know, can't remember specifically which day the registrations will open, but it will be mid-September. And I highly encourage folks to come in and try and make their first game. It is a really, if you couldn't tell from all the conversation, it's a super friendly, stress-free, encouraging environment for folks who don't feel like they've belonged or been welcomed into game spaces, and we'd like to welcome you into it.
Yeah, so we'll have all that in the description down below, so that people can see that. You can follow GAMERella, and we'll put all the Instagram, because I know I was looking at the Instagram even earlier today, and there was a post that went up today. So we'll put the website, we'll put all that. Is there anywhere else that they should look for you specifically, or GAMERella, besides like the usual Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth?
Yeah, we are on Blue Sky, so I believe that's at GAMERella Jam or at GAMERella. I can't remember. I don't know if someone has our tag. And then for me, it's at Courtney Blaney on Blue Sky. And if you're an avid LinkedIn user, we're on there too. If you feel so compelled, we'll talk about B2B sales and game jams at some point, I'm sure. And we won't. But that's the main places to find us.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for joining us today. For people that don't know, we record on Saturdays, which obviously are not like typical work days, so it's great that you took the time to join us today, so that we could
Not a problem.
do this. figure out
It's
time
really
zones.
nice. Yeah. No, it's
Good.
really lovely. I really appreciate being invited to come and hang out.
Yeah, and you have an invitation to come back, and we'll talk about all the things that happened, right? And you can tell us all about it, and maybe we'll have some people who sign up from down below. So make sure you check
Yeah.
out the links in the description, everybody. And thank you so much for watching or listening wherever it is that you are on this, if you're on Spotify or YouTube or whatever it is that you are choosing to do this on. Don't forget to catch V on the news podcast. Check out the party chat on Fridays. Check us out on gamersocialclub.ca. And if you need more gamers to chat with immediately because you're like, I really enjoy the podcast, but I want to talk to somebody right now, we also have a Discord, and you can check out the link in that description. If you can, like, subscribe, share this with your gamer friends, leave a comment on something that you think we did that was wonderful. Or if you want to fight V in the comments, you can do that too, because
I'll be here.
she always says
Okay.
that's an option.
Okay.
And
If you
don't
have
forget,
bad opinions, I'm happy to tell you that they're bad. Like,
she's happy to debate you. She's happy to debate you. And don't forget to check out everything that GAMERella will be doing in the near future, including that game jam. And until next time, everybody, have a great day. Bye.